Good morning. It is February 8th. It is a Tuesday, 5:41 in the morning. Thanks a lot for checking up on old Mr. Old Jesse. Getting some energy in the morning. And I'm back at it. Missed another day yesterday. It is what it is. But trying to stay true to my rule is never miss more than once. I think it was last week. I think I missed like 3 times. 2 times last week. But still trying to push hard and make sure I get out, get some energy. Oh. Look at this car. And why would you turn off your lights? This car turned off its light right before I pulled up in front of all these other people, including myself. And it is really dark. It's 8 p.m. Sunday night, and I'm really fighting against the clock. You see, I've got this cell phone that's on my lap, and it's been glued shut together. But it's been glued together not only 30 minutes ago. And for good reason, is because I just replaced that battery. And now I took it to the repair shop, and now I need to get that screen back off because something's not right. The phone's not behaving the way it's supposed to. And so here I am, I'm looking down at my phone. I've got my credit card in hand, and I'm trying to do what I think is the best way to pull off this front panel of this cell phone. And the reason I got here is because I have this phone that's been almost crucial to my life in the recent months. This phone sits on top of my computer. It's a phone that I use to record all my lessons. It's a phone that I used to use my green screen because phones typically have a really good sensor, and phones are not that much more expensive. A cheap phone or an old phone is not that much more expensive than a good webcam. And anytime you can get a phone to use as a webcam, you're going to get that much better quality. And so I have this phone that I'm looking down like a doctor on an operating table on my lap, and I'm trying to save its life. And I really need this phone because, like I said, it's been part of my life for the past few months. Every video that I've made online, every class that I've taught online, I've used this phone in order to get good quality imagery. And more than that, I also have the ability to upload to Google Photos for free because this phone is the Google Pixel 1. If you have the Google Pixel 1, you're able to upload to Google servers for free. Unlimited downloads in full quality, which means if I record a video in 4K, I can upload those photos up to Google Photos for free, which is not something that exists anymore today, except on this very phone. So you can understand my struggle. I'm trying to save this phone, and I'm gently sliding my credit card in because something has happened to it. Not a few days before that, as I'm looking at this phone, I remember how I got here. This phone has actually been in my lap a few days ago because I remember taking it off of the stand that it lives on, connected to my computer, and noticing that my screen has popped up about a 1/4 inch, which basically tells me that the battery has gone bad. So the battery has gone bad, and it's gotten so bad it's starting to swell and it's pushing up the screen. So I know this is not a good sign. I've seen YouTube videos and I've watched one too many short clips where people have used bad batteries and it swells and swells and swells to the point that it can explode. So this is very, very dangerous, and I realize the impotence of it. My wife is leaving and she wants me to go with her, and I'm like, I need to find a place that can repair this battery for me. But she has someplace to be, and I understand that. And I also have a job that I want to do, is I want to find the replacement for this phone. So it's a day before New Year's, and as I'm sitting there, I'm frantically looking for a shop that I could get to it before tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be the day that everything closes. So unfortunately, I message about 10 different companies, and I don't even call companies normally. I normally just message them via text or on Facebook or other medias like that. But this time, I really want to get this done. I actually pick up the phone. I use my regular phone number and I actually call these companies to see if they're open today. Unfortunately, they're not. They're not open today. So my wife says, let me take the phone with me, and if I see a place still open, I'll go inside. And I said, perfect, that'll help me out a lot. And I said, if it's under $25 to fix the phone, fix the battery, do it. So she takes the phone, and not about an hour later, I'm on my computer and I get this message from her that she's found the place, that they're able to open up the phone and replace the battery. Great, awesome. She spends about 30 to 40 minutes at this cell phone place with them gently taking off of the phone apart, taking the screen off, taking the second layer off, getting down to the very heart of the phone, because unlike old Motorola phones or Nokia phones in the past, most modern day phones have embedded cell phone batteries, which means it doesn't make it very easy for people to replace their batteries like it was before. Before, you could buy a battery, push the button on the back of your phone, and your old battery would slide right off. You slide a new one right back on. It was very, very easy to change your battery. Nowadays, phone batteries are very much internal. So in order to get to the heart of these phones, it takes a long time, especially working around the screen, which is the thing that I'm still looking at on my lap, because my credit card is not fitting just right in between the screen and the shell. Because this screen has seen another pair of hands, and that pair of hands knew what they were doing. They had a heat gun, and they're going around, and they loosened up the glue in between the screen and the phone body. So you need to heat up the glue so that it becomes more malleable in order for you to pull off the screen gently. And so I get a message about 40 minutes later from the initial message from my wife that she's found a place that can fix the phone. Unfortunately, this place does not have a battery. It doesn't have a battery because this phone is very, very old. It's about 6 or 7 years old. And the type of battery is not the most common battery that people just have on hand, like any iPhone battery. Even if you have the original iPhone, well, probably not the original one, but maybe from iPhone 4 and until now, we're on the iPhone 13, I think. 13, 12, that's about 8 years. 8 years of battery, but people still have those on stock. But this Google Pixel is not a very hugely popular phone, so they don't have the battery, unfortunately. They do manage, though, in the 40 minutes to take apart the screen. They take it off and they take off all the screws, and they take out the old battery. In fact, my wife gets a bit of a verbal lashing because the person who's taking it apart is like, who is the person? Why are you using a phone that has been so swollen? You still use it? What's wrong with you, basically? And so she doesn't give them much of an explanation. She doesn't tell them how that phone lives on my computer, and I never ever pick it up, but she just takes a verbal lashing. Thank you very much for that. Finishes up, they put the phone semi back together. They don't glue it up, obviously, and they don't connect all the ribbons because they know they're gonna have to come back in here to replace the battery. They don't want to have to redo something that they're just gonna have to undo later. So they hand back the phone to her, and she remembers me telling her that 500,000 or less, get it fixed. Now they don't have the battery, okay, but I still expect her to pay something for getting the phone semi taken apart and getting the old battery out. That I feel is very much valuable time of theirs that they did work. So she asked them how much, and they say it's going to be nothing. It's going to be free. And she says, okay, thank you, and walks out the door. And she comes back home later on that evening, and she hands me the phone, and she says they didn't have the battery, but they took it apart. And I asked them, how much did they cost? And she says, oh, it's free. And I'm like, what? You said they spent about 40 minutes trying to take a phone apart. And she said, yeah, but they didn't really do anything. They couldn't fix it. I'm like, they did half of the fixing part already. So anyway, my job now is to go find this battery, this rare silicon battery that is 5 years old and doesn't exist anywhere on the earth. I found it on Lazada, which is our online Amazon equivalent. I found it on Lazada, and it's cheap. It's about $5. So I frantically try to place the order. But not only do I find one shop that sells it, I find other shops that sells it as well too. I find shops that sells it for $6 and $6.50 and $5.75, and like I spent a good hour just looking at the prices because everybody does that, right? When we shop online, we don't think about the time that we're investing in shopping to buy a product. At least I don't, and I feel like I can spend half an hour just trying to figure out if I can save another 25 cents. And because I really hold on to my money. I hold on to it very firmly. And if I can get the best deal as possible, I try to find coupons and I try to find vouchers. And literally, I'm only trying to save 20 cents. But that's what I do, because that's the way I shop and that's the way I spend my money. I hold on to my money as tightly as possible in order to get the best deal possible. I find it though. I find my battery, and it's not even 24 hours later that it comes. I order it, it comes the very next day. We're in the middle of the New Year's holiday and it comes the very next day. So here I am tasked with a half open phone already. The screen easily lifts off because they haven't sealed it down, and I'm trying to replace the battery. So I go in, I take off the screen, I look, and then I look at the screws, and sure enough, there's some screws that have been replaced back into the phone. So I go around the phone. There's 9 screws in total, and I hit the 9th screw, and I notice that this screw is going to be tough. It's a different kind of head. It's a different kind of screwdriver head. It's not the typical Phillips or flathead screwdriver head. It's a special, like the Mars rover has this tool on its body because it's so out of Earth. It's developed by Tesla probably, but it's like 6 stars, 5 stars. It's got beveled edges, and like I'm looking at this screw and I don't have this screw bit, but I think I can figure it out. And so I spend another good 45 minutes to an hour trying to get this one screw out, because everything else will probably come off, but I don't want to break my phone, because if I try to bend the phone up, then I'm probably going to break the phone. So I don't want to break the phone. So I spend a long time, and I give up. Eventually I just give up. I wanted to make a video of it, trying to make I'm making a YouTube video of me fixing my Google Pixel. No, it's not happening because I can't get this screw off. And I think to myself, how did the other shop get the screw off? I mean, and like, did they really crank it in? They probably had the special tool. They probably had the right screwdriver to get the screw up, but maybe when they reassembled it, they really tightened this down. That's what I'm thinking to myself, because I can't get this one out. I got all the other ones off, but I can't get this screw out. And by this point now, I've tried so hard, it's starting to it's starting to eat away at the threads, screw threads. It's starting to turn to a circle, and yeah, I can't. Basically, any tool now will just have no grab. It won't grab the screw. So I give up. And I say, it's 4:30 now, and I have to take my phone out to get it fixed. And I say, let me just take it out with us. We've got a dinner to go to. And so we go to dinner, and I say, on the way home, if we see any shop that are still open, let's just swing by there and give them our business and ask them if they can put the battery into the phone. So we have a great dinner, and we're headed home. And then sure enough, we see this phone shop on the right side of the street. Bright lights, they sell, key lights, and they sell all kind of cases and stuff. And so we walk in, and we see the guy sitting there down on his table. And I say, can you put this battery into this phone? And he looks at the phone and he says, yep, okay, no problem. Let's do $3. So I say, sure, awesome, great, let's do it. So I watch him, and he pulls off the screen very simply, like the way I did in the morning. He pulls that screen right off, and then he starts unscrewing some screws, and sure enough, he comes to that one screw that was the bane of me trying to unscrew it, because I could not. And he tries for not even 3 minutes. He tries, he grabs his tool, grabs another tool, but he kind of looks at it and he's like, man, somebody really put some work into this, and there's no threads on this to grab onto the screw anymore. So he stops and he thinks for a little bit, and he goes with his little razor blade. He goes around the edges of the phone, and he bends up that second layer perfectly so that it's not going to break the phone, and he can still slide in the new battery, put the ribbons on, put the second ribbon that needs to be on, closes the second layer up, puts the screws back in that he took out, puts the screen on, but as he's putting the screen on, he puts a sealant, which is like a super glue, puts a sealant on it so that if water gets in it, then hopefully it won't damage the phone too much. He puts a sealant on it, and then he puts the screen back on tightly. And then he binds it with some rubber bands vertically, rubber bands horizontally. So just like it's a compression that he says, just leave it there, it'll dry, and your phone will be fine. As I'm grabbing the phone back from him though, I see that the Google images are flashing on the screen, and it's not something normal that happens. Like it flashes up and it turns off, it flashes on and turns off, flashes on and turns off. And this is what we refer to as a boot loop, which is not good. A boot loop is not good. There are ways to get around it, and in a little bit I'll figure this out. But it's stuck in this boot loop, and he just tells me just go home and charge it. Your phone just needs a charge. And so I say thank you very much, and I look at the time, and it's not 5 minutes that he spent to reassemble this phone together for me. It's not even 5 minutes, but I pull out. He said it was 50,000 or 250. There's 50,000. I give him another $1. I say here's another 20,000. He's like no, thank you. So I have the two bills, the 250 and then another $1, and he just takes the bill that we agreed upon. So we're leaving the shop, and it's still flashing. And my wife was like, "I'm really surprised at you," and I'm like, "Why?" It's because why would you want to give him a tip for that? And so I go into this explanation about how, like, what he did was a very technical thing that not everybody can do. And even though I hold so tightly to my money, like I felt like that expertise, that he knew that he could bend up the screen without internally damaging the phone, that he could do that. He had the foreknowledge to know that he could do that. I thought that was worth it. I thought that that was worth giving him something a little extra, because of something that I couldn't do myself, that I really tried to do earlier that morning. So she was surprised, and I gave her a story about a famous story about Pablo Picasso. And we get home, and I'm still noticing that it's still boot looping. It's over and over and over again. And so I go jump on YouTube, my very favorite friend that helps me to figure out all my problems. I jump onto YouTube, and I found out how to get into the bootloader. And the bootloader is not working because I want to clean the phone so that maybe that will be the problem. Sure enough, it's not working. And I realized that the problem must be the battery. The battery is probably the problem. And so I think to myself, oh no, I need to get that battery out before this screen seals shut, because the rubber bands are still on it. And so I pull off all the rubber bands, and now here I am at the beginning of my story. I'm sliding my credit card down my phone, thinking about I need to get this off now, because if I don't, it's not going to come off. So I'm being as gentle as I can. The amateur that I am, as gentle as I can, going around the edges, and I can see the glue spreading apart like a good cheese spread. I can see it like spreading apart. And I go, and as I get towards the ending quarter of the phone, I push a little bit too hard, and I crack the screen. I crack it. I see the Google boot loop as I'm working on it. I'm looking at it, I see the Google boot loop going, and then I see it disappear, and it just blinks. And I know, I can see cracks in my screen now that I just broke the screen. So here I am, looking at my phone with a broken phone screen, that now I have to buy another one. I have to buy another. It's not worth it to buy another battery and buy a new screen now, which is screen probably is even the harder thing to find for this phone. But the lesson I learned at the end of this is I was willing to put forth that 20,000, put forth that extra money to give to this person to fix it for me, because it wasn't something that I was comfortable enough to do. But because in my haste, I wasn't patient enough, and I broke the phone entirely. And so I sit there with my broken phone now, and I say to myself, this is going to cost a lot more than I expected it to cost. But I learned a good lesson from it. I got a good story out of it. And yeah, sometimes I just gotta leave it to the pros. Leave it to them. And even if it costs me a little bit more money, I was willing to part with my money and willing to be more generous. And my wife said on that ride home after we left that phone shop, she says, I don't understand it, but I'm happy when you do it. And for me, that was the moment. I don't understand it, but I'm happy when you try to be generous. And the phone can be replaced. The phone can be, I can find another one. It's not going to be the cheapest thing to find, but that's besides the point. My wife told me, I don't understand your generosity, but when you do show it, I really love it when you do it. And that was the moment that I pulled away from this, because as hard as I hold on to my money, as hard as I tight-fisted will spend an hour trying to figure out which 25 cents is the best one to save, it turns out being that the dollar that I'm willing to give to somebody because of their services, because I want to tip them, because I feel that they did something that I could not do, that generosity made an impact on my wife. And this video is way too long. I feel like I should preface this with like, grab a coffee or grab a bite, because it's going to be a long story. Anyway, that's enough for my story. Thank you guys very much. Yeah, hopefully I'm back. I'll be back out here tomorrow doing my thing, and yeah, just try to find these little moments in your life, make them into little stories, little sagas, and that's the spice of life, built on memories. Love you guys. Aloha. Take care, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Peace.